Hi, this is Click Spotlight, and my name's John Sands, and this is Click Spotlight at SKO 2020. So we're in the mad place they call Las Vegas, and I've got the very great pleasure of having in front of me a man that I've known for a few years now, actually, and who was working at Click and then moved on to the SDG group. So Chris, welcome, Chris Ferrera, welcome so much to Click Spotlight. So you were involved in the industry solutions team with Mike Sanitor at the time, and then David Bolton after that, and you were running on the life science side and high tech and manufacturing and retail, if I've got that bit right.
You're absolutely right.
So I know you very well. I know what you do. So you're at the SDG group, but there may be some people out there that actually, don't know who SDG are and also your role there. So explain a little bit of those things.
Sure. So SDG Group is a global specialized systems integrator. So we're based out of Europe. We're headquartered in Italy, and then started expanding all throughout Europe. And we're focused completely on the data analytics space. Yeah. So we do everything from, let's say, the traditional visualization technology or implementation that most people would know us for. But we also do, financial performance management. We do advanced and predictive analytics. We do data management. We also, have practices that we call it business insights, but it's meant to help customers use data to gather information and then use that to change and drive behavior. So it's like an advisory services, but with data as the engine of that. We're a good size firm. A lot of people don't recognize, but SDG is actually large. We've got about 1,100 people now and have been growing rapidly. In the US, we're growing rapidly, and all throughout Europe, we're still growing very quickly, which is fantastic. So my role has been to take and leverage the SDG brand and growth and use it to help expand operations into the United States. So I'm the GM here. And that really, I learned as I came on board, involves a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. It's a cover-all title, isn't it? General
It really is.
Yeah.
I found that out. It's true. So I'm involved in sales. I'm involved in marketing. I'm involved in what we would call operations, which is implementation or delivery services. I touch, HR, recruiting, and I'm involved in a lot of it. But ultimately, what my objective is to take that brand, bring it to the U.S. and make sure we're delivering the same level of unique and differentiated customer service and quality to our customers here. And that's been my charge so far.
So how does that translate? Obviously, you've got a lot of knowledge of the U.S. business. SDG, from what you were saying there, was started in Europe, in Italy. How has that translated? How's that gone with the work in the U.S.?
So it's been an interesting sort of experience in a positive way. There are some cultural differences, but the way it's been translating for me is that it's important that we always hold on to certain values that we hold dear. One is for example, innovation. We need to make sure that everything we're doing is an innovative approach on the front end of that.
So you're not just doing what everyone else is doing then. You have to the differentiator is yourself. Yeah.
And you'd even notice, like if you saw some of SDG's demos at, let's say, Connections or the Future Click World, you'll notice that we're doing things with Click where we're showing it in a virtual reality or an augmented reality world. Nice. We're creating things like we have the imprinting demo that's kind of become famous, where you hold it up to the computer and it recognizes the report and then pops up the dashboard and you can interact with it. Yeah, we do a lot of things like that. So we like to push the technology to the limit, so that innovation is key, as well as some other things such as being a meritocracy and driving our employees to really take initiative and do things in unique ways. So we're following a lot of those, and it translates pretty much one for one here with a little bit of cultural difference. But generally speaking, it's working very well.
It's okay. So you talked about expansion, and so what does 2020 look like then for SDG? What have you got in the pipeline? What's exciting you about your role going forward? Because your life science is fairly well focused, aren't you? But that's going to change, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually has already begun to change. So when we came to the U.S., which was just prior to my arrival 2 years ago, the focus was, let's make sure we're deep in life sciences. Let's make sure we're deep in a certain technology like Click. And then let's make sure we're focused on a region so that we build relationships and network, and we are able to really saturate some of that environment. And we've been doing that successfully. We grew very rapidly in last year, and now for 2020 we're expanding on those dimensions. So we've moved out already from just life sciences. We cover manufacturing, consumer product, and retail as well. and we've been starting to move into those spaces. And what's fantastic, by the way, is because SDG tends to focus on larger accounts, global accounts, we're able to come into some of these accounts through our relationships out of Europe. So we get connections from an internal organization. And that's been really a great way of getting into some new customers. If you imagine, as an Italian firm, retail is big. So when we're going after retail, we're able to leverage all of the really great brands we have coming out of Europe. So that's been good. And so we're also expanding now on region. So we're moving to Chicago. We have an office there, and we have our first customer base started there. So we've kind of lit the spark in Chicago, and we're preparing to do the very same in New England. And so for me, I'm really excited personally about a few things. One is the growth by region and being able to kind of push out of just the one specific territory, but also to expand our services. So I mentioned we were focused on Click, and we still are very focused. It's one of now 3 go-to-market partners. The other partners that we have that augment Click is Data Robot and Snowflake.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, yeah. I was talking to Boris Geller, who's the technical partner who deals with Snowflake, and that's a very interesting product, and it's got big very quickly, hasn't it? I mean, you wouldn't have heard of them 2 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
And now they've just gone mad. But SDG have a focus on cloud, and the Click Cloud area, that must be very important for that to, first of all, progressing that relationship with Click and SDG, and also making an exciting future as well. So explain a little bit why that is so important.
Yeah, so for sure. So in terms of cloud in general, we see the market moving there very, very rapidly.
Yeah.
And so even, which is a little bit unique, a pharma organization that is so focused on secrecy and privacy of data, moving things to the cloud is almost unheard of, but it's happening. Just when you think there's a barrier that they can't get past and a company say, no, I can't go to the cloud because of my data, they then go to the cloud. It's happening. So that trend is really powerful. For SDG, I believe we were one of the first partners of Click to actually have a full-on SaaS product in the cloud, which we do have. Yeah, we have a solution that was built. It's a pharma sales application that's integrated with Viva's CRM application. It's fully up in the cloud. Customers can access it. They can procure the technology and roll it out in a production environment, fully managed service environment. That being said, we are finding also outside of the concept of a solution offering like that, we're finding customers want us to host their environments, to leverage Click's cloud, and to manage the whole environment. And for us, that is really powerful because it allows us to change up the services we provide. We have access to their data pretty much 24/7, and we've been charged to provide services for them, whether it's managing the infrastructure, managing the applications themselves, or even augmenting and modifying those applications over time. So with access to the data, and then with a full organization of consultants and technical people behind the scenes who know industry, we're able to go through, look at their data, and then say, hey, there's some nuances in this data you might not be recognizing. Let's give them that insight and then see if they want to do something with it and explore it. And we're using that as the tip of the spear to help grow our predictive and advanced analytics business.
Excellent. So obviously you have access to customer data, and with the implementation of GDPR last year, and being a European company as well, that must have had some effect. You must have really had to tie down on that.
Yeah, so for me in the US, I've been a little bit shielded from some of that.
Yeah, of course,
So GDPR is obviously a really powerful regulatory requirement from an infrastructure perspective. We do have the European entity kind of handling some of that. In the US, we get it to some extent. Not the same, but it's a little bit of to a lesser extent. But there's still data concerns, there's privacy concerns. So we go through extensive checklists, and we get our environments oftentimes validated, where outside organizations will come in and look at what we're doing and make sure, does it comply? Does it meet? And there's very extensive checklists that we get. And we have to do it typically for each customer individually. So for example, we manage a platform for a company called Ashfield. Ashfield Healthcare is a contracted sales organization for a lot of big pharma. So we built applications, and then they then get released to Genentech, Biogen, Amgen, Insmed. And what we do is we have all of that data, all of those applications in our environment. So in that case, we had to deal with their IT organization, their regulatory organization. We had to pass a whole bunch of checks, and then finally they give us the stamp of approval, and we're okay.
And that's a fairly, because I've worked in life sciences for a while. I worked for the OEM partner we were an OEM partner called Dendrites on the life sciences side. And you talk about contracted sales forces. That's fairly peculiar, isn't it, to the pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, it is. It's very specific, and now they're doing it in more than just sales. So we have contracted sales organizations that we work with.
Yeah.
And now we're having contracted manufacturers that we're dealing with. And there's even contracted research organizations on the clinical side. So they've got a whole ecosystem of companies that they work with. And as you can imagine, it makes analytics so powerful, because if you're working with one CRO, chances are you're working with many.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a huge opportunity for this, isn't it?
Absolutely, because you need to see holistically what's happening with your products. And that means you have to cross all that data, bring it in with your own data. And this is where Click has such a fantastic solution.
Fascinating. Actually, I love the industry. There's so much going on. It's great. So we're at SKO. We're at Las Vegas 2020. What do you, as far as SDG are concerned, what do you get out of a come together like this?
Yeah. So for me, these kind of gatherings are
to fix old friends again as well.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love. You get to see all the old colleagues and friends that I enjoy so much, and you get to see people that you just don't always see, because people are all around, and even if they're in your territory, they're busy, so you don't see one another. Here's where you can sit down together, talk again, and collaborate. But for me, one of the key things here is you learn about some of the advancements that are coming with the technology. You learn what the direction is that people are hearing directly from management. So if we're working with sales reps, we want to be sensitive to what they're responsible for. So we're hearing directly, from leadership what the expectations are. And we're able to then, make sure we're adjusting our behavior and how we're acting to make sure it fits in and it jives with the overall, plan. But the other thing for me is it really represents something less tangible, which is more that we truly are partners. It's a two-way street.
That connection, doesn't it? And that feeling that you're actually part of the whole thing. What were your thoughts on the Rox AI and Ping acquisition?
So it's funny, because we had some familiarity, because when I was back at Click initially, we had some really early on conversations with that organization, and we thought, wow, this has got some really interesting things to it, and it's going to be evolving. So our initial take was, wow, this is going to be super powerful, because they're building a lot of these capabilities into the product. And for me, that's super powerful, because a lot of organizations are interested in some of these capabilities, but they're not really taking it and executing in the same way that you can if you build it into the product.
And people actually do have a bit more confidence in it when it's part of the product. And the beauty of Rox AI for me is actually they've been working with Click and doing this the whole time. So it'll hit the ground running, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then on top of it, you also acquired some pretty talented people that are going to help that to evolve. So it'll keep going and it'll keep evolving, and that's what I love. It's going to have some great capabilities.
Well, Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's so good to see you.
Thank
you for spending some time
having
with
me. I
me.
appreciate it.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I'm looking forward to the future of SDG and making some real inroads into what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.